That's the problem with reading books. How can someone in real life compare? Who will tear a guy's eyeball out for me? No one.
Yeah.
That's an impossible standard. I don't know.
Exactly. Like, oh my gosh, who would murder for me?
Oh.
Please, come on. Is that too much to ask for? Hey guys, Nina here,
Hey, and I'm Anya.
and welcome to our podcast. So, today is the day. It's the first time we're going to be discussing a book that isn't an SJM book. It's Six of Crows.
I love how you forgot Fort Wing, as you should.
Oh shit. Oh my god. It's so like it
Well,
just isn't worth remembering, it's unmemorable.
yeah, yeah, I mean, you said it.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry for everyone who loves Fort Wing, but I feel like everyone here, I mean,
Mhm.
our listeners, they know that we're not fans, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Eating as the fans, she was up until 3 yesterday finishing the book that we're going to be talking about. So, we forgive you for not having a perfect recollection right now.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I guess I just didn't calculate my time well. I thought that I don't know, I just didn't. I was also watching a TV show. I was rewatching a TV show that I
Mhm.
really like, Lost. So I got so invested in that show that I forgot that I have to read, this book. And I kind of now finished it in 2 days, and yesterday I just stayed up until 3 in the morning just to like really finish it so that we can record today. But I mean, it wasn't a problem. It was super interesting, so, I was invested.
Awesome. I am happy to hear it. Oh my gosh, because this was a book that I really liked for a lot of years. So hearing that you like it too is very nice. Even though I told you to take your time if you need to, because oh my gosh, that must be stressful just finishing the entire thing very, very quickly.
Yeah, guys, don't misunderstand me. Anya wasn't pressuring me. She wasn't peer pressuring me at all. She wasn't like, read it now, but no, I felt like, I felt obligated a bit, but it wasn't a problem. Even though when I started reading the book, it was difficult for me because I wasn't really in the mood for it. And also, you know what? I realized I'm not the type of person who likes mob movies or TV shows or like
Mm,
books, mafia kind of a situation. And I feel like this book
right.
really has that vibe at the beginning. You really feel like they're this a mafia, like a gang, So
Yeah.
I wasn't into that much. And at the beginning, when you have so many names, so many different characters, it's like a new world for me because I did not read Shadow and Bone. I mean, I did watch the show, so that definitely helped me, but it's still different when you read it. So it was just too much of everything for me, and the mafia vibe, I didn't appreciate it. So that's why I just kind of wasn't immediately hooked, So I had to struggle for a few chapters, but once, we got to the point where Kaz was told what they had to do, that they were gonna get like, I don't know how many million
Hmm.
Kruga in exchange for saving that guy. That's when I got kind of, oh, okay, so this is gonna be like they're gonna break someone out of prison, Okay, that's a prison break. I
Yeah.
dig that, right? And once everything started going on, once they went to the ship and the explosion happened, and when shit went down, that's when I got like really, really hooked.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I also one of the moments I love the most is the whole ship explosion and Kaz on that ship and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That was like when it like really started. Oh my gosh, I loved that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm not like seeking out mafia books or those types of movies,
Mm-hmm.
same, I'm not like too into that, but still those sort of like scheming, like heist type of situation. I like reading about that. So, yeah, like the plot intrigued me from the start, I guess, because I could tell that this is going to be like a really like action packed sort of story. And also, I just like the characters from the start. Like everybody
Yeah.
that we met was just so good. And I just knew I would be enjoying myself so much reading about them. By the way, I read it in like I want to say like 2013 or something, like a long time ago. Have not really reread it since. So, of course, for this podcast, I took my time to reread it. There were so many things I forgot. Oh my gosh. But still, I had a lot of fun, and it's really great actually rereading something because you notice so many like little breadcrumbs and little details, and how
True.
there's like parallels between like how some characters think and some hints, and I really took my time on this review to like find all of this, and oh, I just think the author did a good job with writing this one.
I actually, before we started filming this podcast, I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw this meme about how amazing it is to reread books because you notice things that you know you didn't notice the first time you read a book. So
Hmm.
that's, yeah, exactly what you just described, and I couldn't agree more. And yeah, of course, you forgot it. I mean, you basically read it, what, more than a decade ago? That's a long time ago. But
Wow,
yeah,
yeah.
I watched the TV show, so I knew some things, but it was still kind of weird to adjust to the changes, you know. I mean, the TV show has changes, but for me it's like the book has changes, right? So it was like, oh, so this is the original. Oh, and you know, but there are certain things that the TV show did really well. By the way, I feel like the TV show, now that I've read the book, I feel like it did a really good job with the crows, honestly, especially in casting them. I mean, the actors that play the crows in the show, they are these people. Like, it's literally, they came to life. I mean, even the author, she said that herself, that she feels like when she met these actors, they were them. You know, Freddie was Kaz, Jasper was, you know, the actor, I forgot his name, but like, it's so amazing how good of a job they did with the cast. Incredible.
I love to hear that. Oh my gosh. I hope that we get into it in this episode because I am so curious to find out what did you already know from the TV show? Like what parts of the backstories were revealed there, what wasn't, what was changed, what wasn't changed. Because I was for a long time really skeptical about the TV show since we kind of found out that they will be like merging the two stories together from the Grisha trilogy and from the Six of Crows duology. And personally, like I just wasn't a fan of Shadow and Bone because I read the first book and it didn't hook me. It didn't connect with me, I would say. So I was glad that I gave Six of Crows a chance because Six of Crows I absolutely loved. But that's what scared me about the TV show. So even when I like heard from many people who love Six of Crows that the TV show was done great, I was still scared a bit and still skeptical a bit. And also I forgot a lot about the story and did not have the same connection to those characters anymore. And I just didn't have that excitement to watch it as it was airing. But now that I read it, and I love those characters again, and I know that I only get one more book with them, I think I'm gonna watch the TV show. Like, I need more of them.
Yay!
I will do it.
Yay! You should, because like you don't have to worry about the Six of Crows story in the show. I feel like they did a really good job. You know, the actors, they are these characters, and the story is really interesting and well done. So I think you'll enjoy it very much. In regards to Shadow and Bone, I can't say anything in regards to the book, but I feel like Shadow and Bone as a show wouldn't work if they didn't include the Six of Crows. I feel like it would be a bit dull because honestly, to me,
Mhm.
and I feel like to a lot of people, the Six of Crows storyline in the show is also the most interesting. You know, people would rather follow them than the cast from Shadow and Bone, even though they are well done too. Honestly, they're not bad at all, especially the Darkling. He's amazing.
Okay, okay. Well, I'll find out, I guess, when I watch
Yes, you
it.
will. Yes. I mean, do you mind if I like spoil you some things because I'll be comparing the two, or do you not want me to tell
Um,
you too much?
you know what? Let's just go for it. I mean, I know the story from the books already, and I'm just like not feeling too bothered about it because I'm sure that it will still be interesting, even if I know some things. I mean, I know those characters already, I know the story already, so I'm fine with that. But yeah, let's give a little disclaimer that obviously there'll be spoilers for the book, no spoilers for the Crooked Kingdom because Nina hasn't read it and I remember absolutely nothing from it, so do not worry about that. And there will be spoilers for the TV show too.
Yes. Okay. I guess we shall begin. Let's just start by kind of introducing the characters.
Mhm.
So, I mean, At the beginning, we have like this chapter dedicated to this random guard, but let's
Yes.
ignore that. So, Inej, she has the first word, right? First perspective is from her.
Yes.
Okay, so she's the. How is it pronounced? The Wraith, right?
The Wrath? Maybe.
Wrath? Okay, guys, apologies. English isn't our first language, so yeah. She's pretty much an acrobat. Like, she was raised as an acrobat in a family full of acrobats, but she was like kidnapped when she was younger and basically sold to the menagerie where she had to work essentially as a prostitute. She was forced into that until Kaz kind of helped her out, and now she's working for the drags and for Kaz as like a spider. She's the one that
Mhm.
gathers information and brings it to Kaz, and that's why he knows everything about everyone, which is amazing. And I love how quiet she is. No one knows when she approaches you. She's just so
Mhm.
flexible and so elegant. And I just, in my head, I always imagined her literally as the girl who plays Inej in the show. That is her.
Mhm.
And she did such a good job. And like, I even have the special edition of the Six of Crows book, right? So you have pictures
Mhm.
of the characters in the book, and like Inej, like literally the woman that plays her, the actress, that is like that's her in the picture, you know? And the picture was made what, a
Oh
decade
my
ago.
god.
It's crazy.
Wow.
Yes.
Love that. It's so great to see them, like,
So
come to life
great.
on screen like that, so I'm happy about it.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, of course, I love Inej. I think she is awesome. I think she's so great as a character, and I really just like her. I like how much, yes, she's a bit quieter than everyone else. She's a bit more withdrawn, I guess, than everyone else, but she has that confidence and that strength in herself that I really, really admire. There's not one moment when she's like, "Oh, maybe I'm not that good at being a spy or something." Like, no, she knows that she is badass and she
Yeah.
enjoys it. And that's just so cool. That's just so great to see. Of course, she had to do a lot of things that, you know, weren't great to survive, right? And that she is struggling with reconciling like who she was and who she is now. But I still feel like, I don't know, she has that strength and that understanding that it was all sort of necessary. And yeah, I just like her and I like her character development and how similar she is to like, I love, okay, I'm already getting into how much I love Kaz and Inej, but I love it. It's just that their backstories are so similar and the trauma that they're struggling with is so similar, but they deal with it in slightly different ways. But also they're so good, and I just need Kaz to get his shit together, but okay,
Yeah.
that's it. That's all I'll say for now.
I just wanted to say that I agree about Inej. I love how she doesn't like feel sorry for herself. She isn't the type of
Mhm.
character where she's like, "Oh, poor me, I have to kill all of these people. I'm so awful." Like, she isn't like that. She's aware that the things that she's doing, they're of course not like entirely okay. She is pretty much a murderer, but she knows that she has to do what she has to do because of survival, and
Yeah.
she knows what she's like as a person, and I love that. She's really confident in herself, and that's actually a difference a bit from the show, because in the show, Inej, she's also religious, just like she is here. She believes in the saints, and
Mhm.
all of her knives are named after these saints. But she kind of decides not to kill anymore. So she like doesn't want to kill anymore, and that's kind of a problem because, she has to. She like really struggles with that. She feels really guilty about it. And I feel like that was an unnecessary addition in the show because it really didn't achieve anything. At the end, she, still did what she had to do. It was just, I don't know why they put that in there. It was really pointless. Yeah, it was unnecessary.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting because that's not something I would change about this character. I really like the way it was presented here. That obviously she's not proud of what she's doing, but she still understands that this is her path and that she's still like a badass. And hmm, I like the way that the storyline went down in the book. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, same. Okay, I mean, we should move on to Kaz. So, Our main guy, he's like my favorite character for show. He's just so complex and interesting and brooding and amazing. And he pretty much was a farmer boy. He like was raised there by his father with his brother, but his father died, so they had to sell the farm and move to the city. And of course his brother had all of these dreams and plans about how they're going to succeed, but it turned out that he got kind of tricked by this trickster, and he basically gave him all their money, so they
Mhm.
ended up on the streets. His brother died from a plague, and Cass has this trauma because when they took his brother's body, they thought he was dead too because he was also sick. But it turned out he was actually
Mhm.
alive. He kind of survived the disease, and he ended up on top of all of these bodies in the water. And, I understand his trauma. Imagine like being surrounded by these bodies and the feel of them. They disintegrate after a while. It must be like awful, and the smell and everything. So he now basically has this trauma, and he isn't able to touch anyone. He isn't able to get close to anyone physically in that way because that's like his fear in a sense. So it was so interesting, because no one knows about his gloves. No one knows why he wears these gloves. They like think that maybe he has claws under them or that he has like demon hands or something. No one knows. People just kind of blew this thing out of proportion and like made up these theories about him. But Kaz doesn't mind it because the more they fear him, the better for him, right?
Mhm. Mhm. What did you think about the gloves as you were reading? Did you have any theories about why he is wearing them, or was this just revealed in the show? Or
Yes, I knew it. I knew it from the show. Yeah, this backstory in the show is also really well done. Not in the season one, but in
Mhm.
season two, you get to know like from flashbacks. So it's really good.
Oh, damn. Okay, because yeah, like that backstory is a lot. It's traumatic for sure. I've only read the books, but even like imagining it in my head is already like quite
Yeah,
disturbing. I mean, like you know me, I get so easily grossed out by anything medical, like anything that can like go wrong with health or anything like
yeah,
that. So, oh my gosh, I can't when it was describing how he was floating on his brother's body
yeah.
to
That's
get,
what the fuck.
oh, I cannot. But you're right that this backstory tells us so much about Cass, because I was thinking that was horrible. That was awful to happen to anyone. But I feel like many other people, if they were in a situation that horrible, they would either, I don't know, run away, or I don't know, try to forget it all happened, or just like try to survive, like blame themselves or something. And Cass was floating there and he was like, I'm gonna fucking make someone pay for this. I need to
Yeah,
survive so I can kick insane amounts of ass. And that's just like tells you everything about this character.
yeah,
And I love that so much. I love that there is like, no sugarcoating of his personality. There was no like, oh no, but he actually has like some redeeming qualities. I mean, he is complex and he has qualities that humanize him. He's not like completely like one note, but there's never like that, no excusing how much of a dickhead he is. He just is quite awful and quite scheming and does things for his own gain and for his own favor, and we understand why. But still, like other people would go through everything that he has gone through and maybe come out completely different. But no, he's like, I need revenge and I need to make everyone who caused this lives hell. And he never backs down, and it's never like, oh, but that's actually like a bad thing. Like, no, he's going to do it.
yeah,
And I love that. Yeah, because of course in real life that's like not a good way to live. But like in stories, in fiction, I fucking love that. I love that
yep.
he's as fucked up and as complex as he is. It's great.
And I love that he isn't a hypocrite about it. He's aware of who he
Mhm.
is and he's unapologetic. He knows he's a dick and he accepts it, embraces it, and he doesn't pretend like he's anything other than what he is. And I love characters like that. We've talked about Black Sails in a previous show, and I've told you about a character that's also like that, and I really appreciate that. Like, stab you in the front, not in the back, right?
Exactly. I love that too. But there's still like a bit of decency that he fights against. And he's
True.
really trying to like hide everything that's good about him and like not even accept it, which is also interesting.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I love that so much. But you're right that he is not bullshitting anyone. Like when he invited Inej to join the tracks, she was like, "This looks too good. Is this a trick?" And it was described as if something like washed over his face, and like I could just tell he was thinking about how his brother was tricked by
Yeah,
Pekka. And he was like, "No, if this was a trick, I would tell you that you would be happy and that everything would be peaceful. And that is not what you're going to get. So
exactly.
this is how you know it's true." So
Exactly.
he's a bastard, but he's still real about it. And he's not going to cause anyone pain that doesn't deserve it. You know what I mean? So it's good. It's great. I love him.
Exactly. I love him too. And it was like so sad when he came to shore with his brother's body and he kind of saw the body drifting away and he thought for a second, that he wishes he could like burn him or something, like give him a proper burial or something. But he, of course, understood
Mhm.
that he doesn't really have time, that he needs to find shelter and that he needs to get revenge. And like, it was so good. Like, I got goosebumps when I read it and I got goosebumps right now. And I mean, imagine
Mhm.
he was just like a little boy, like the fuck. Ugh, I hate Becca Rollins.
That's true. Bitch, all of those characters were 17. What the fuck?
Yeah, also that's something that I didn't see coming because in the show, I don't know if it's ever mentioned how old they are, but I feel like it's assumed that they're in their 20s. So I like that in the show. I was kind of shocked that they're 17. I kind of wish they were more like 20 just because I'm over 20, so it would be more relatable. But like, it's even more fucked up when you think about how young they are and what they're doing with their life right now at this moment. Like, instead of going to school and having something peaceful going on, they're like gangsters and murderers because they have no other choice.
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh. Every time I was reminded how young those characters are, I was like,
The
What the
fuck?
fuck?"
Yeah.
I know. Like, how is he managing a club? Like, what the fuck? I didn't know what taxes were at 17. Like, how is he
Yeah.
doing that and also swindling people
Exactly.
and shit? Like,
It's surreal. Every time like his age was mentioned, I was just like, that's impossible. It's insane. But like, of course, and they're so mature for their age because of everything they went through.
yeah, I mean, that is true. Like, their world is not our world. They've been through shit and they've struggled and they had to grow up way too fast, all of them.
Hmm.
So, from that point, it is realistic that they're not acting like 17-year-olds who had
Exactly.
perfectly normal lives would. But yeah, in my head, they were all like in their 20s as I was reading. I
Exactly.
don't know, like
Same.
I couldn't, they were just like my age in my head. But I mean, I remember reading it when I was younger, and I don't think back then I had any problems with them being 17. I was just like, yeah, that tracks. Like, of course,
Yeah.
that seems like something someone my age would do. But now that I am in my 20s, I'm like, what the fuck, they're babies. Send them to school.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly, exactly. I agree. Okay, okay. Enough about Kaz. Let's focus on Nina for a second. Nina, Nina, Nina. I mean, I love this girl. I mean, a lot of reasons, but mostly because her name is so pretty.
Oh my gosh, I wonder why you believe so.
every time I read like Nina this, Nina that, I was just like, that's me, bitch. That's me. No, I really like. I feel like Nina's character kind of resembles mine, even. So it was just so great. And anyways, she's a Grisha. And she's a heart render, so she has the ability to control your pulse and your internal organs in a way. But she can also like
Mhm,
kind of change your appearance a little bit. She has that talent too, but it's not that prominent. That's also different, by the way, from the show. In the show, like, if you're a heart render, you can just be a heart render. If you're a fabricator, you can just be a heart.
mhm.
You can like heal too. If you're a healer, you can heal. You know what I mean? And I actually like that
Okay,
in
yeah.
the show because the boundaries are like more set. Here, they're so like fluid that sometimes I was just confused by how she can do all of this. I feel like it could have been described a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's possible that it's described a little bit better in the Grisha trilogy because
Oh,
they're
right.
the main
I forgot.
characters.
Yes, you're right.
So, as I was reading it, I was just assuming that it was probably better described in the other books that the target audience has probably read already. So, it wasn't like too much of a big deal for me. From what I got, from what I understand, I think there's like 3 or 4 different categories of Grisha. And then, in general, you have, for example, an ability to control someone's body, but then as you're learning, as you're going to like that magic grisha school, you either decide I'm going to focus on healing, or I'm going to focus on killing people, or I'm going to focus on, I don't know, maybe something else. And then it's not that she doesn't have the healing powers, it's just that she wasn't educated on how to use them for healing, and that's like what makes a difference. But I don't think she can like
Oh.
manipulate metals and stuff. I think that's like a different order. And so there's still
Oh,
like
okay.
those sort of differences maybe.
This makes sense. Okay, this makes sense. That's logical. Okay, yeah. So she works not in the menagerie, she works somewhere else. But she's not like a prostitute. She basically just helps people feel better in a way. Like someone that has depression comes to her. It's like a magic cure
Mhm.
for like a few days and then it's over. Anyway, she is in Ketterdam because of Matthias. He was basically like the man she fell in love with. He was actually her slaver, but they got stranded. And, anyways, she had to save him by accusing him of slavery. And now he's in prison. And she's here because she wants to help him out. She doesn't know how. And she also works for the drags for Kaz. And she's just a badass. She's so
Mhm.
good.
True. Oh my gosh. I think that she's great and I love her, and she's been through so much and she's still so good and so great. And yeah, I really really enjoyed her as a character. I enjoyed reading about her. Yeah, like she's a warrior and she's so strong but also so fun and such a good friend too. Like she's
Yeah.
awesome. And I mean, I do have maybe a little bit of a bias, but I'm like, I think that Matthias should have just forgiven her for throwing him into the prison. Like, I'm just like, Nika did nothing wrong. She has
Yeah.
done nothing wrong in her life ever. Come on. I mean, obviously, it wasn't as black and white, but I'm still like, I don't know. I can just like excuse everything that she's ever done wrong because I just like her a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
love how
Yeah.
charismatic she is and flirty. She
Mhm.
always just knows what to say, how to act.
I like how Cass was like, I once saw her flirt with a pair of shoes or something like that.
I love that
That was so
too.
fun.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Because like when he approached
Mhm.
her, she actually flirted with him too for a second there. And he was just like, she
Mhm.
flirts with everyone. It was so funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, what else to say about Nina?
Yeah, I really liked how the backstory was presented from
Right.
her and from Matthias. Like the whole structure, I guess, of this book, with the way that we were getting those backstories, I feel like it was done so well. Like it was like in the exact right moment that we learned the things that we needed to learn. Like I really appreciate those chapters and getting to know those characters that way.
You know what's even more amazing? That in the show,
Mm.
you actually get this backstory unravel in present time. Because in season one, Nina, she is working abroad, gathering information as a spy and shit. And this is exactly what happens to her. She gets kidnapped by Matthias, by these slavers. I mean, slavers. No, they're not slavers actually, but And this is exactly what happens. The shipwreck, they travel together through snow and ice and they fall in love and she sells him out. And the chemistry between these two in the show is so good. Like honestly, just like in the book, you get Kaz and Inej and you get Nina and Matthias, but Nina and Matthias' love story is a bit more prominent because Inej and Kaz, they're a bit more
Mhm.
subtle. They're not the flirty types and
Mhm.
stuff, but with Nina and Matthias, you get the flirting too, and you get that hate tension, and it's the same in the show. And I lived for them in the show too. Like I just wanted to see more of them. It's so well done. You have to watch the show for them too because it's so good. Because here it's described in flashbacks, but there you get it in present time. So it's amazing.
Okay, okay, cool. That must be great too. Absolutely. However, I also enjoyed the way the story was presented in the book because the way, if you've never seen the show, if you don't know anything about those characters, and the way you just like know that she has this history with this guy who's in prison, and you're like, what the fuck? What happened? I want
Yeah,
to know more. And then you like learn it slowly. I
true.
feel it's also pretty great like that. So I remember it was intriguing to me when I was reading it for the first time, and also intriguing right now. I definitely forgot that she was the one who put him in the prison, and yeah, wanted to learn like what happened, like why did she do that. But I mean, again, I think I'm just too biased towards Nina, but I'm thinking that if they spent like those weeks together to truly get to know each other, like Matthias knew who she was. And I'm just like so sad that, I mean, of course I mean, he was put into the fucking prison and had to like fight wild like that's fucked up. But I'm like a little bit sad that he didn't have like that 1% of a doubt that maybe Nina isn't a monster. Maybe she had a good reason. Maybe she was threatened. Maybe she was forced into it. But that was never something that he thought. And I'm just like a bit sad that it was so easy for him to jump into the prejudices and the preconceived notions that he had. I
I
mean, it
know.
made for a good character development story, but I was like, ah, damn.
That saddened me too, that he didn't even for a second think, okay, maybe she was forced into it. But at the same time, I mean, think about it. He was raised this way. He was raised to literally hate Grisha. It was easier for him to believe that she was just pretending all the time than to believe that this witch is actually more human than any of his companions are. Because if he believes that, that means that his entire life was a lie, essentially. And I feel like that's really hard, and especially when you're put in a prison and you have to like do what he had to do and you're alone, of course your mind is going to drift towards the darkest scenario possible and be just
Yeah.
pessimistic about it. So I understood Matthias actually. Even if I love Nina because she's like my second favorite character after Kaz, I still understood Matthias, and I was just sad that Nina never got the chance to actually explain herself to him the way she later on in the book had, because he was also like, why didn't you never tell me this, and she was like, of course I tried, but blah blah blah. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, of course, I get it. If you've been taught something your whole life, like you can just like snap out of it without any sort of process, without working on it. So, of course, he's not going to change over like a single night or something. So, yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, you're right. Still, though, I mean, no, actually, the fact that we did get the whole character development and him slowly throughout the book get into that place that I wanted him to, that was actually great. So
Yeah, I
actually,
really
yeah,
like that.
it was good. It was great to see that. I mean, the whole ending, I mean, I won't get into it now, but that was like so good. Oh my gosh.
For real, for real. Okay, so let's just focus a second. When they went to the prison to rescue Matthias, there was a scene
Hmm.
there where he had to fight the wolves, and that was really difficult for him because wolves are sacred to his kind. And I was heartbroken for the animals, the fact that they were basically
Yeah.
caged in that prison and they had to like fight for survival like that. It was just so sad. And when I realized the elephants were there too, and I love elephants, and this is just my personal love for animals, but yeah, and the fact that the wolves, he had to kill them, that's actually a difference from the show that I really like in the show. So in the show, he also had to fight these wolves, but instead of
Mm.
ending up killing them, he submitted to them. So he decided not to do that. So he went on his knees, and the wolves, they understood his submission and they didn't attack him. And then like the guards had to come in and attack him and the wolves and him, they fought
Oh my
against the
god.
guards. Yes, and I just got goosebumps right now, but that was so well done in the show, and it was amazing to see how the wolf submitted back. And I even saw some bloopers from them filming, and those were actual wolves that the actor had to befriend and like pet and
Oh
get
my
to know.
gosh.
Yes, so they were actual wolves, and it's amazing. He said that that was like the best experience of his life working with wolves.
That's so cute. Oh my gosh. I want a wolf. No, no, I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. Also, I was so sad for Nina because she wasn't aware of what was going on in the prison. Like, Kaz didn't tell her anything. And she was so frustrated with him when he told her, now that he needed someone like Matthias, now that he needed someone to break into that stronghold, now he's gonna
Hmm.
rescue him. And I was so like understanding of her when she was like, we could have done this ages ago. It was so frustrating.
Yeah.
But of course, Kaz won't do anything if he doesn't get anything out of it. So you're like, well, of course, duh, right?
Yeah, yeah, like we've known this. Like if you start reading, if you get into it, you know that Kat is an asshole. That is what you expect from him.
Yeah.
So I signed up for this sort of behavior. So for sure, Nina is correct, but I enjoy reading about Kaz being a complete asshole. So I was having a good time, and we've discussed this in previous podcasts that it is so annoying, so annoying. I don't know what the fuck that accent just was right now. When when you have like the main character plotting some sort of secret plot and they don't tell shit to their group of friends, to their crew, and everyone's just like, what the fuck is going on? Why did we not know about this? Usually I am annoyed at that. Crescent City. But here, because we've been warned that Cass is an asshole, I liked it. I was like, of course, this is something that he would do, and we also have pretty like decent reasons for why he would be cautious. Because yeah, things get leaked. They have spies everywhere. People can betray them. So I was actually enjoying this trope that they usually dislike. Here, it was good.
I was still annoyed. Of course, it's something that you expect. Yeah, of course, it's something you expect from Kaz, but I was still annoyed. And every time Jasper said it in his thought process, I was like, man, same. Yeah, same, dude, same, same, same.
Oh my
Because
god.
what if you don't tell something to someone and they're so shocked in that
Mhm.
moment that they fuck it up because they didn't know? You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
Nina, she could have completely exploded in the prison. She could have done something stupid because she didn't know before, so she couldn't like prepare herself mentally. She could have just reacted instantly. And for someone that is as smart as Kaz, I'm like, why don't you just kind of get that,
Yeah.
isn't doesn't that make sense? Because sure, you expect because he's an asshole, but at the same time he's a really
Mhm.
intelligent asshole, so it's you're like, how does this make
Yes.
sense?
Okay, no, you bring up a really good point actually here. I was thinking about some moments like with the boat, for example, or, not discussing any of the plan before they, leave the boat and no one can overhear them. Like those sort of things I get. I feel like that's smart because, you can never control everything. Someone can talk, someone can overhear. But I mean, of course, you're right. Like in some cases, it actually would be way smarter to tell something to Nina or Jasper. And yeah, like I was kind of sad for Jasper. Like so often he was like, "Well, damn, so I wasn't important enough to find this out. Oh
Yeah.
shit!" Like it was both sad and funny how from like Jasper's perspective, he's like, I'm such an idiot for caring about this asshole and for like looking for signs or something that I know it's probably never gonna happen. And then you get Kaz's point of view, and he's like, I remember that conversation I had with Inej 6 months ago. I still remember word for word what she said to me, and I can't stop thinking about it. Oh yeah, Jasper's here too. Whatever. I mean, damn.
Poor
Poor
dude.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh.
So I would now talk a little bit about Jasper. So Jasper, he came to Catterdam because of university. Actually, he was also from a farm. You would never have thought, right? And he just kind of got really drawn in by gambling. He got addicted to it. Essentially, it's like an addiction that he
Mhm.
has. And then Kaz, noticed him and his talents, and they ended up being like a gang and drags. And I kind of got the feeling that Jasper, he has a bit of a crush on Kaz. So that was something that wasn't like that in the show. So I was super shocked by this. And I was like, what? I kind of like it, but what?
Oh my gosh, I actually forgot completely about the crush that Jasper has. I knew that Wyland and Jasper were a thing, so I wasn't too focused on it and just like left my memory. Yeah, like I was surprised too. But yeah, and he's a bit more of a comedic relief for me in this book. I just loved all the times where he was like, finally people are shooting at me, like, "Ugh, I can feel alive again."
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Damn.
And I wanted to say that sometimes I'm bothered when everyone is in love with the main guy or with the main girl and stuff. And I'm like, why can't they just be friends?
Mhm,
But here, I actually wasn't bugged by it just because it makes sense for him to be in love with Kaz. Just because he's so different. And this is exactly what Jasper also says. He says that he never met anyone like him. And I kind of
mhm.
understand why, if you're in his proximity, you would fall for the guy, right? Because he's just so different. And I feel like when someone's so intelligent and confident, you just kind of drift towards them and you crave their attention, right? So it's like it makes sense completely.
Totally, and I can totally see how Cass makes you like feel needed and feel wanted,
Exactly.
and that he really appreciates you. And then the next moment he's like, "Fuck you! I just need you because you're an investment or something." And that would like mess with you completely,
That's a bit
and
narcissistic, actually. I feel like that's why also some tend to fall in love with narcissists because they're like a drug. They give you just enough for you to
mhm,
feel special and good, but then they take it
mhm.
away so you miss it and you miss the high. It's like temporary highs and like really bad lows.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Probably I would be feeling the same way or something. And I felt bad for Jasper. And also, like, when Inej and Jasper were like talking, like standing on the boat and talking, they were both like, we're both such idiots for caring
Yeah.
about
Yeah, that was
cats.
a
That
cute
was such a good
moment.
moment.
That was a cute moment
Yeah.
because it seems that they're both
Mhm.
aware of each other's feelings and they both understand how stupid the other one is. And I also here I noted it from Jasper's perspective. He like described Kaz's stare as shark-like. And I literally like had to
Mhm.
note here, Freddy is perfect for this because literally when I watched the show before like reading the book, that's how I felt. Every time Freddy gave the stare to someone, the way he just looks, his eyes, they look like he sees into your soul. And I was just like, oh my gosh, he looks
Mhm.
like a shark. So the fact that this was described here, that his stare is shark like, I was like, again, perfection. I mean, where did they find this man? Fuck me.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to watch it. Yeah, in my head, I was really imagining him as having that hard, cold stare, with no
exactly.
remorse, no nothing in it.
And that's Freddy's stare. That's Freddy's look. It's
Mhm.
amazing. Okay.
Nice.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Did you remember that Jasper was also Grisha?
Totally not. I did not expect that at all. Oh my gosh. And it was so good. I feel like it added a lot of depth to that character that, he has this like part of himself that he's totally like not in contact with, or like he's denying, and how to deal with that sort of thing. I feel like it was really interesting, and I'm really
Yeah.
excited to learn what happens in the next book. Like, does he learn more about it? Does he like go train like he said? It would be like so cool to see that. Yeah, like when he attacked, those people in the ice court, and he was like feeling remorseful
Yeah.
that he didn't even think he would feel that way about his power, but now that he did it, he does. And that was, I feel like, so complex and so interesting. So yeah, I really hope that he's not like in denial about it anymore and learns more about it.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we also meet Violen. He makes bombs and stuff. He's that kind of a guy, and he's actually Jasper von Van Eyck, if that's how it's pronounced. No, Van Eck. He's like the son of this merchant that hired them to go save the scientist, and that was a shock to me because in the show he's not like anyone of importance. I mean, he's not like a son of I don't
Oh,
know who. Yeah, he has the same name and he's like poor and stuff. He plays the violin or the flute, I don't know, something to get money, and he's actually really good at what he does. So I was really surprised here that like they made fun of him a little bit. I actually felt so bad for him when Jasper he made fun of him at the beginning that they could hire the other dude that's actually much better and stuff. And I was like, that's so mean. Like poor guy. And also the way like Violen was described that he looked like a child, like he was 14, 15 years old. That's amazing because the actor that plays Violen, that's exactly how he looks like. He's really small and he looks like he's 14, but he's actually like 20 something. It's incredible.
yeah. I mean, I guess I see that if they needed to introduce Wylan earlier in the show, that his backstory would have need to be a little bit changed, a little bit different.
Hmm.
Yeah, but still, I like his backstory in the book. I was intrigued to learn, even though I read it already, but like I fucking forgot everything. I was intrigued to learn, like, why is he here? Why did he run away? Or why was he kicked out? When we found out those letters from his dad, and he's like, if you're reading this, I love you. Like, and then the plot twist that
Oh
was
my
actually like
god.
him loving him. Oh my gosh. I didn't see that coming. I mean, I
Same.
saw it coming that he's probably like not a good father if Wyland would run away, but I didn't expect like the depths of it. So that was
Yeah,
like, what the fuck?
same.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Jasper and him had this thing going on where Jasper was like mocking him and stuff. But I wasn't like too mad at Jasper for it because like if you know his backstory and how he was from a farm, how he's struggling with gambling, with money, how he didn't have any of those like luxuries. I like understand. Like if you have nothing and then someone who supposedly has everything and he's still like here with all those criminals, you're like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like you could be swimming in diamonds. Like why what? And so I kind of got it, but at the same time, of course, that's judgy, but at the same time I knew that they would have this moment where they would like talk and
Of
find out,
course.
and all of that will happen, so I wasn't like too worried. And I feel like Wyland also wasn't like actually hurt by it. It was more of a like, I don't know,
Yeah.
just not too bad. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Violet, I was really proud of how he didn't take it to heart. He was just like, whatever.
Mhm.
I like that neutrality of his.
Yeah. No, and it's so cute how he like knows nothing about the criminal world and everything. Like Cass is like, do you know how to steal a wallet from the market? Violet is like, who's Mark?
Yeah, yeah, that was so
That's so
funny.
funny.
That's a good
Yeah.
one. I was like, oh my gosh, poor guy.
And then everyone is like, just like stop him. Niga is like, I don't remember, like distract him. Jasper's like, shoot him. And Matthias is like, you're all horrible. Like,
Yeah, yeah. By the way, I love Matthias's like he always called Kaz demon. And that was so
yeah.
hilarious to me for some reason that every time he addressed him, he was like demon. I find Matthias's superstition so hilarious because I can imagine like this big, big giant full of muscles and like just being super afraid of demons and ghosts and shit. And I'm just like, oh my god, this is insane. And like
Witches.
his accent
Yeah.
and witches, and I'm like this is hilarious to me, honestly.
Oh my
And
god.
how he was like convinced that Kaz is a demon, that was so funny because like I can totally see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so let's focus a little bit now on the plot. Let's just start off by Inej saving them all. She pretty much kind of sacrificed herself and she got really, really hurt when Pekka Rollins' men attacked them.
Yeah.
And Kaz was like, he saved her. And I felt for Jasper there because he thought to himself, if he got that hurt, would Kaz care as much? And that was so sad because Kaz, like, he completely lost his mind. He was out of his head. I love that, by
Mhm.
the way. It was so good.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like you get this from Jasper's point of view, how he's, feeling a bit jealous, feeling a bit sad. And then in Kaza's point of view, he's not even thinking about Jasper. He's like, I hope this dude isn't gambling again. And anyway, Ines, like what's she up to?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's not funny, but also I feel very, very sad for Jasper. But oh my gosh, the boat scene, the whole thing with Inej being stabbed, I was losing my mind. That was so good. That was so good. I mean, if you couldn't tell before how in love Cass is, even though he's struggling to even say it to himself in his head, like now he's like showing everyone out of the way just to get to Nia, just to like get Inej saved, right? Like he doesn't give a shit about anything besides that. I was like, oh my gosh, I love him. And then getting that dude who stabbed Inej, and like it was like described like something inside him like torn loose, like he never felt that way before, or he only felt that way when he lost his brother, and like he went off on that guy, like fucking ripped his fucking eyeball out and threw him into the water for Inej. That was great. I'm sorry, ripping eyeballs out, not morally not great, but
But so hot.
so good. What's wrong with me that I think that things like that are hot? That is
Are you kidding me? I think things like that are hot too. I want a guy who would murder for me and rip eyeballs out for me. I want that. That's sexy. That's not weird. I feel like a lot of people feel like this. In books, at least.
okay, yeah. Let's make a distinction that something is like fiction and something is like reality. But oh my gosh, yeah, I see a character who could like murder me, and I'm like, hi, yeah, I like you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that Cass like throwing him out of the boat. That's like same with Bryce when she was vacuuming up that archangel. Like I was like, damn, like why do I think that that's us? Like that's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to like self reflect a little bit, I think. maybe change some things because that should not be hot. But I digress. Okay.
We're in the same boat, sister. Yeah, that was amazing. You know, when we talked about how sometimes Sarah J. Maas, she repeats too much how characters are into other characters and how we don't like that. And I felt like here it was amazing because, yeah, it was just like a sentence or two and you knew immediately what it meant. But I did kind of miss a little bit more flirting between them. Like, I wish we got at least like him like saying something to her, you know, that she just like looks, what does that mean, and she's like super confused about it, or just some like a little bit more of flirtation, I guess. But I mean, when you know the character, you understand why that's not the case, but still I just kind of wish I had more of that. But otherwise they're great. But that's why I think that in this book, at least, I actually prefer Nina and
Hmm.
Matthias, because I felt more of that tension there. Like, of course, throughout the thought processes of both Kaz and Inej, you understand that they love each other and you feel that love and you want them to be together, and you're just like, geez, can you just, you know, get your shit together? But it's frustrating because you see it individually. You see Inej individually and you see Kaz individually, but they don't come together in that way. Well, with Matthias and
Hmm.
Nina, it's like you see them individually, but they also come together. Like, there was actually this one quote.
Hmm.
Nina says, "You always hated my laugh. I loved your laugh, Nina, and your fierce warrior's heart. I might have loved you too." You know, so we get a little bit of those confessions, which again makes sense because they already had something going on before. So they're already on
Hmm.
that same page about being in love at least once upon a time. But, you know, we still got that. So that's why I was more invested in their love story than I was in Inej and Kaz's, even though I'm totally into Inej and Kaz too.
I get it. I see that. Yeah, there are definitely a bit more open with their feelings and a little bit better at expressing themselves. So that's definitely true for them. And if you like want this sort of romance, that sort of a relationship, yeah, you would love Nina and Matthias. And I love them too. Like, don't misunderstand me. I mean, as I said, there were times when Matthias did frustrate me a bit, but I kept telling myself that, with the fucking life that he had, it's understandable. And we did get that character progression, which I appreciated. And I also appreciated the character progression that we actually got with Kaz and with Inej, because you're completely correct. At the beginning, like, they can't talk. They don't know how to talk to each other. We didn't get really much flirting, but still appreciated a little bit of their like quips and their dialogue, because
Yeah.
Inej would be like, "Oh, I just like need him to tell me something nice that he appreciates me," and he's like, "You're a good investment," and Inej is like, "I'm glad I'm bleeding on your shirt." That's- like, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
still like
yeah.
had that like funny banter moments.
Of
So
course,
that
yeah.
was great. And then when you finally get Kaz, admitting to himself that he feels something, it's like that much more rewarding because of how much denial that we got before. And it's like, yeah, I was like screaming when he finally admitted something to himself, that he needs to get his shit together and confess. And like, he like held his hand and was just like, "I want you," or something. I was like,
No, that was the moment that I died at. Like, I live for that. But like, you know, it was at the end of the book. So I was like, oh,
"Mhm,
you know, so I can't wait now for the second book because I assume we're gonna get
right."
more of them. Like, at least they know now. Both of them know how they feel. You
Mhm,
know what I mean? So at least that
mhm.
they're on the same page about that. So yay.
Same, same. Oh my gosh. Like, you said something at the beginning that I feel like is so true. I was texting you about that yesterday too. That I really like, I don't need 1 million descriptions about how handsome a character is or how pretty a character is, or that sort of thing, to believe that characters are in love or are attracted to each other. Like, that a bit annoys me, actually. What gets me is what we got with Kaz and Inej, and also with Nina and Matthias.
Yeah.
With Kaz and Inej, you just get like Kaz when he was in the prison, and that guard was like, like touching him and like trying to find if he has like anything on him that he wasn't allowed. And Kaz was just thinking of Inej's voice, and that like calmed him down in that moment of like
Yes.
complete stress, right? But then a couple of chapters before that, you had Inej, who had to walk past that house where she was forced to work in the menagerie. and she was getting like flashbacks and she was stressed out of her mind. And then she thought, what would Cass be feeling right now? What would Cass be thinking right now? And that calms her down. And I want to throw this book out of a window. Like that's like you can't do that to me. I'm losing it.
Yeah.
It's so good. So good. I love
Those
it.
parallels, those details, I live for them. And yes, this the book does it so well. Like, yeah, same. I don't need descriptions of how hot they look. We get it a little bit at the beginning. We get the
Mhm.
descriptions of the characters, and Inej at one point she says that she's the only person in front of which Kaz kind of takes his gloves off, and she also describes how his body looks good because he takes his shirt off and stuff.
Mhm.
So you kind of get that there. You get the description of his eyes and stuff. So that's enough, like, once, because
Mhm.
we have to imagine them visually. So we need that. But then throughout the book, you just get examples like the one that you just used. Like,
Mhm.
that's all we need. And also, with Matthias and Nina, I really appreciated the small glances and stuff. Like, for example, she would be doing something and she would catch Matthias looking at her, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I live for those glances. Like, I'm such a sucker for eye
Mhm.
contact, right? Like, that's also something that's important to me. Like, whenever I would flirt with someone, I would always do the eye contact. And when I get this in books, I just feel the chemistry and it's just so good. And like at the beginning, when Inej, like literally first chapter, when she arrived at the meeting spot and she said that she could see Kaz looking at her from miles away already, like that she noted her from a distance immediately. And I was like,
Mhm.
yes, bitch, of course he does. It's like so good. I got goosebumps right now.
Fuck. Yes. There was like one line or something like once Cass saw her, he couldn't stop seeing her. I
Yes.
love that.
Ah,
Oh,
ah.
so good.
Yes, so good. And like, I just want to read a quote here from Inej's perspective. So she said,
Mhm.
"One minute he made her blush, and the next he made her want to commit murder." And I died here because this is love. This is how you feel when you're in love with a person or when you have like a partner. This is what happens. Like, this is also me and my boyfriend. Like, one minute I'm like, oh, I love him, he's so sweet, and next I'm like, you bastard, I want to kill you. But in a cute way, right? So it's like she
Ah.
summed this up so right, so
Mhm.
correctly. There was this line. I feel like the first time he kind of noticed her in that way was when she was feeding the crows outside of his window. So this one. The sun was out for once, and Inej had turned her face to it. Her eyes were shut, her oil black lashes fanned over her cheeks. The harbor wind had lifted her dark hair, and for a moment Kaz was a boy again, sure that there was magic in this world.
Oh my god. Oh my
Ah!
god.
Sure that there was magic in this world. Can someone describe me in that way, please? Like, this that's so much that I ask for. And like another one, listen to this, that she was lovely
Yeah.
and brave and better than anything he deserved, that he was twisted, crooked, wrong, but not so broken that he couldn't poke himself together into some semblance of a man for her, that without meaning to, he'd begun to lean on her, to look for her, to need her near. He needed to thank her for his new hat. The water pressed at his chest, demanding that he part his lips. I won't, he swore. But in the end, Kaz opened his mouth and the water rushed in. That was when he pretty much almost died. And just the fact that he was dying and he was thinking of her and of how much better she is and how he doesn't deserve her, but he wants to try to be a better man for her. Oh my gosh, I want this in my life.
Yes. Exactly. That's the problem with reading books. How can someone in real life compare? Who will tear a guy's eyeball out for me? No one.
Yeah,
That's an impossible standard. I don't know.
exactly. Like, oh my gosh, who will murder for me?
Oh,
Please, come on. Is that too much to ask for? Just like,
that's a problem.
it's a problem for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, now let's go to the story a bit. So they captured
Mhm.
the guy that hurt Inej, and he tells them that it was Becca Rollins who hired him. And there was like this quote from Jasper's perspective that I love again. A quote, sorry guys, I'm into quotes, but yeah, it's so good. It's so funny. I laughed here so hard. So Jasper says, but if Pekka Rollins kills us all, I'm going to get Wyland's ghost to teach my ghost how to play the flute just so that I can annoy the hell out of your ghost. Brecker's lips quirked. I'll just hire Matthias's ghost to kick your ghost's ass. My ghost won't associate with your ghost, Matthias said primly, and then wonder if the sea air was rotting his brain. And I just died here.
I
And I
love
was
that.
like, they're all talking about his ghost. And he was like, am I going mad? Like, what is wrong with me?
Oh
Like,
my
these
gosh.
people are like, just they're just not a good influence right now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I loved Matthias like slowly getting roped into it and being there like, wait, what the fuck am I doing? Like
Yes, like, why am
why?
I playing along?
Yes. Oh my gosh, so good.
Insane. It was so good.
Yeah.
So, anyways, they are on that ship. Inej gets better, and they arrive to Fjerda, right? Fjerda. It kind of
Mhm.
sounds very Norwegian, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And they have a big trek to go on. Kaz has everything planned out, and I mean, they don't know if they'll survive, but they still have to do it. This will change their lives, all of them. And along the way, they also run into some Grisha who are basically drugged up on this drug that enhances them so much. And it was so sad when they
Mhm.
ran into that Nelson guy, and Nina actually recognized him. They were friends before, they would drink together and stuff. And then
Mhm.
kind of Matthias helped her bury him, which was something that Matthias, like, it was unimaginable because they didn't bury Grisha because, like, burying them meant,
Mhm.
like, I don't know, it was sacred to them. It was like uniting with their god. So that's why they burned them instead of bury them, but he did it for her. That's like where you kind of see that Matthias is starting to understand that Grisha, like, that they're human too, that they are just different because he decided to do that.
Yeah, true. And yeah, like Matthias, he has so much to unlearn, to understand. I mean, he's a bit naive. He was like, but we give them a fair trial. We don't burn them anymore.
So
That was
naive.
outlawed. And everyone's like, bitch, like, are you seriously believing all of that? Ugh.
And like Nina gave him such a good point. Like after they go to trial, how many of these Grisha people are actually pardoned? I mean,
Mhm.
there's a reason that they're not pardoned, right? Even he didn't know what to say at that. And by the way,
Yeah.
I was so scared when these two like started to scheme that they were gonna kill the scientist. Oh my gosh, I was just like, please don't do this because if this happens, Kaz and everyone's gonna hate you. And also Ines, she like started to get this idea in her head about how she's gonna be a sailor, how she's gonna get her own boat, her own
Mhm.
crew. And I just felt for her so much. And I was like, no, don't take this away from Inej. So yeah, heck, thankfully that didn't happen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I still understood their reasoning,
Of course,
and their
yeah.
thinking. Of
Same.
course, like Nina would, yeah, try and put, her country and Grisha before everyone. And, her intentions were good, of course, and Matthias as well. So I got them, but I also wanted them to fail. you know? So yeah, I'm glad that things worked out the way that it did.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, there's not much to say here about their track. Oh, right. When they decided to switch the prisoners and go in their stead, that was so awful because Kaz, like, he froze because there were so many
Yeah.
people in that truck and he is scared of that shit. And like the moment he froze for a second there, I was like, well, shit, are there just two people inside or something? I didn't even think about that there might be like a lot of people inside. But
Mhm.
then, yeah, I kind of just realized because he wasn't moving, even though Inesh called his name and stuff, I was like, oh shit, there's a lot of people in there. So it was so awful to see that he actually fainted. The poor guy fainted and he just couldn't get a grip on it. He's so freaking traumatized by this. And that's something that worries me. I want Inej and Kaz to end up together, but I'm like, how will this get resolved by the second book? I don't see that. Like, Kaz needs extensive therapy. Like, he needs to work on this for ages before he gets better in that sense. And I'm just sad
Mhm.
because I'm afraid that we're not going to even get a kiss between these two.
Damn, I mean, I definitely want Cass to get his shit together. Even if it's not possible to do it in one book, I want him to start getting his shit together. I want him to try to be able to express his emotions to Inej. I mean, from what I remember, we have a happy ending between them, right? And I mean, definitely, like, this sort of trauma is not going to go away immediately, but I hope that he is working on it and that will keep happening, right? Because yeah, Inej deserves that. Someone who really appreciates her.
Yeah, I know. And there was a moment on the boat when Kaz went to talk to Inej after like 2 days of not even speaking to her after she recovered. He
Hmm.
wanted to get close to her as possible, but that didn't happen. And that's when he actually admitted to her that Pekka Rollins killed his brother. And she was so shocked that he opened up to her. He never told this to anyone, so that was a really important moment. And also, she like told him how she's gonna pray for his brother. And of course, Kaz was like so not into that. And there was like this moment when he said, "What happens if I move closer?" Like that was a thought in his head. They were almost touching, so he was nervous about that, but he like basically expressed how he's not that nervous. Like he actually thought about moving closer. So I feel like that's progress already. And I feel like with Inej is going to be a lot easier for him to get past that physical
Mhm.
barrier because he's just so in love with her.
Mhm.
And there was another like thing when she asked him like what does he want, and he says, but a different reply roared to life inside him, loud, insistent, and unwelcome. You, Inej, you. And of
Ah,
course he didn't say that, and he just said something along the lines like I want to be rich or something. So
oh, yeah.
yeah, but like he's going there. I mean, he already admitted to her that he wants her at the end,
Mhm.
so he's gonna get there. And
Mhm.
by the way, that scene that we get at the end, that's a scene that we actually get in the show. And it's so well done. Oh my gosh, Anya, I almost died at that scene. They were like, they're so close. Their faces are so close. You think they're gonna kiss, and the chemistry, you can like chop it with a knife or something. It's so good. I can't wait for you to see that.
Yeah, I cannot wait because I need more of Kaz and Inej for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
And oh my gosh, I just love so much growth that already happens in this book. That's why I'm hopeful that in the next book there will be even more growth. Yeah, at the beginning we have Cass, saying, "Greed isn't my god, greed bows to me." And then, like, "I don't need your prayers," and, fully rejecting that. And then by the end of the book, Matthias says something like, "I feel sorry for you. Nothing is sacred to you in this life." And that was like after Inej like touched his cheek and he was like,
You're wrong.
"Yeah, you're wrong."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fuck. That's
Oh,
character development. Oh,
it's so good.
love
It's
it.
so good. And I
Mhm.
loved how when he told Inej at the end about how he wants her and how he wants to be with her, she pretty much replied that she'll have all of him or she won't have him at all. And I'm getting goosebumps right now. And again, that's line for
Mhm.
line in the show as well. That's exactly what
Oh
she
my
says,
gosh.
like literally the same. And after that, I went on YouTube and I watched that scene because I wanted to like see it unfold in front of my eyes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh god. I just like want them together, so I was like, damn Inej, just like accept it. But at the same time, like, she is correct. I can't
Yeah.
like deny that she's correct and that she deserves someone who would be open with her and yeah, and not hide. So no, she's right. Kaz, come on, get your shit together. Yes. Okay.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so yeah, when they got into the prison, that was so stressful because like they actually passed two checkpoints, and that's when Kaz woke up, and they stripped them and everything. So that was difficult for Kaz. And also, I was so shocked when like they took the lockpicks from his mouth. But of course, they have another plan. Like this isn't the case. And actually, the plan was
Mhm.
Jasper. Kaz knew all along that he's a fabricator, so he used his powers to get the lockpicks. It was so good. Everyone was so shocked, and it was different because like in the show we find out about Jasper, I think in the second season, I'm not sure, when Kaz and him are trapped somewhere, and Kaz like basically tells him that he knew about his powers all along. And Jasper is so shocked and what the fuck? But of course Kaz would know. And I also kind of suspected Jasper from the beginning that he was Grisha just because he's so good with his guns. He never
Mm,
misses. Like the shots that he makes are impossible. And I'm just like, no one is that good with these guns. Like he's definitely some kind of a Grisha or something. So I was happy
damn.
when my suspicions were confirmed.
Mhm. Awesome. Oh, well, yeah, I had no suspicions, even though like I fucking read this book and should have known. But that was totally taking me by surprise. I mean, I got the feeling that him getting caught with those lockpicks, like he's fucking Cass fucking Brecker. If he didn't want those lockpicks to be found, they wouldn't be.
Exactly,
So I
exactly.
was like, okay, this is probably a distraction or some kind of a maneuver that happened on purpose. But I still had no idea like how they would get out if they don't have lockpicks. I was just like trusting that, yeah, something will happen, and it did, but not what I imagined.
I love that about Cass, how he thinks about everything.
Hmm.
He's so intelligent, so good. But also another thing about Cass that I want to mention, I feel like he's more badass in the book than he is in the show. I mean, he's still super intelligent in the show and he's still super menacing and shark-like and everything, but there's not that many scenes of him fighting, of him like using his physical strength and his like karate abilities or something like there is in the book. Or actually we get more of that in the second season, and it's really well done in the second season, but in the first season there's not a lot of that, just so that you know.
Oh yeah, yeah, I loved him fighting. I mean, he just like knows everything about the body. Again,
So
how
good.
is this dude 17 and knows how to do magic tricks, knows everything about the human anatomy and where to hit people, how to fucking run a fucking business, how to be a criminal. Again, like what the fuck? What was I doing? I was watching The Vampire Diaries and crying in my room. Like what the fuck? I mean,
He's
good for
street
him, I guess.
smart. He's street smart. He was
Yeah.
forced into it. Okay. So, of course, when they were like in the compound, not everything went according to plan, which was super stressful for me because the moment when Nina and Kaze went to look on the upper floors to see if maybe the scientist was there and he wasn't, Nina looked everywhere, but then she couldn't find Kaz. And I was so annoyed by that. I was like, where did he go? I knew that he wasn't captured, impossible that he would be captured, but I was like, what the fuck is he up to now? And why has he not told anyone? I was so annoyed.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then of course Nina had to go on the stairs. And of course, because she was like looking for him and was late, she ran into these two guards. And then the alarm went off. And I was just so frustrated because I was like, how will they manage to do this now that the alarm is, set? Like, people know that they're
Mhm.
there. You know what I mean? So I was super stressed about that shit.
No, for real. It was both frustrating to see, Kaz abandoning the plan, yet that was like his one weakness. Like Pekka is his one weakness
Yeah,
and
for
like
real.
one thing from his past that like he can't
Get
like
over.
yeah, exactly. So damn, I kind of got it. Like I could not fault him for letting his feelings take over and also the way it was written, like he just walks into that prison cell and then like it fades to black and then we get like a new chapter. I was like, what the fuck happened? Did he fucking murder
Yes.
him?
And
That
then
was
he comes
badass.
back bloody and stuff. I was like, shit, did he actually go through with it? And the thing is that in the show, it happened completely differently, how it went out between them.
Okay.
And I was like, is it really that different? Because if this was the case, I actually preferred what happened in the show. But still, we don't know what's going to happen. I guess the shit's going to get down between them in the second book. So we'll see if that's similar to the show. But yeah, hopefully it is because in the show, it was really well done.
Okay, yeah, awesome. But because of this, they had to adjust the plan a lot, and a lot of shit went down not the way they expected. But also, I was reading it and I was like, of course, the plan won't go the way that you guys are planning. It's a
Yeah.
book. Like,
Yeah.
so I was expecting something to go down because that's just like exciting. Like, if we find out all the details of a plan, before the plan starts happening, that means shit is going to be different because if it went out the way that it needs to, we would not get characters recounting it step by step. If someone is describing exactly what's about to happen, it's not going to happen that way. So,
That's true. From that perspective,
yeah.
I agree with you, and I thought the same. But at the same time, Kaz is so good at planning and he's so
Mhm.
intelligent that a part of me was like, well, of course it's gonna go the way he planned it. You know what I mean? A part of me was just like, I trust him so much. It's probably gonna go exactly that way. But like, yeah, of course it doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that it didn't because it's more realistic. Like, shit happens. There are things that you just can't predict, like guards being on that staircase in that exact moment. Like, you don't know that. You don't know where they're going to be at what time. Like, they can just be going out for coffee and run into you.
Exactly. And like they're intelligent enough and skilled enough to change things up in the moment. And that was like also really great to see, Cass and his little scheming face come
Yeah.
up with something different. I loved that. And that was like when they were on the roof. But before that, we needed to see Inej climb that fucking
My God.
chimney.
I
Holy
felt so bad
fuck.
for her. Like the way she described it, how her like toes were burning and stuff. And she still kept on going. She just remembered
Yeah.
her family. And I really hope, by the way, we get a reunion of her and her family. I mean, I feel so bad for them. And also, by the way, I was really frustrated with Jesper. Like the fact that he gambled away his father's farm. I mean, I know he's basically an addict, but that's just what frustrates me
Mhm.
with addicts and addiction that they're so into, their addiction that they don't think about the people around them and they don't think about their loved ones and how they're destroying their lives, right? In a way. So the fact that he did that, I
Mhm.
was like, you asshole. But I just hope that in the second book they get the money and I'm sure they will and he can like take care of that and Inej can visit her family and yeah.
Yeah, that's sad. I mean, again, I cannot be mad at Jasper because I hope he gets better. That's like what I'm saying. Like, I
Yeah.
hope he gets
Yeah.
better and that the farm doesn't actually get taken. But because like we've seen Jasper, we've seen inside his head and everything, like I mean the guy needs like therapy and some ADHD medication. Like how does he like survive in that world and be like functioning normal? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's just hard when that's like how your brain is, right?
He's an adrenaline junkie for sure. Like he just needs that
Yeah.
high. And whenever there's
Yeah.
like a scene where they're fighting, like instead of being afraid, he's like happy and smiling and he's living the life. He needs that. He needs some excitement in his life. I mean, that's what he also said when he was like on the farm. He couldn't stay there because the work there was just too monotonous, yeah, for him.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The whole time when fights were happening, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so scary. That's so stressful. You guys, like, I was totally feeling like those emotions. And then we get to Jasper and he's like, fuck yeah, I'm having fun. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Oh, that's not fun. It's not.
It's
But to
not,
him,
it's
it is.
scary. But here he is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so the plan didn't go as it should have, so they had to improvise, and pretty much Nina and Dinesh, they kind of sneaked into the menagerie as one of the girls, and they went there to get information about where the scientists might have been hidden, while Kaz and Matthias, they took another path that Matthias knew because of his training in this palace. And it was so like frustrating when Inej got held back because the guard, he
Hmm.
noticed that her tattoo looked a bit odd. So I was so afraid for her there. I was like, well shit, how what's gonna happen? But it was so good when the madam came to her and Inej held her by the neck. For a second there, Inej was again like frozen a little bit, but then she just kind of got her shit together and was like, I am not afraid. And she just grabbed her by the neck, and that was so badass. I just really wish that we could have seen the madam's face when she realized that her diamond was missing, because
Yeah.
she was so proud of herself. She was like, yeah,
Hmm.
you're gonna hang now in my clothes, bitch, or something. And I'm like, no, bitch, you won't. Ugh.
Oh my gosh, that's what she deserved. I fucking that Helene person, whatever, fucking hate her.
Yeah.
She is. Oh my gosh, I was so happy to see Ines steal her diamonds and stand up to her because that's like what she fucking deserves, and I hope she gets completely destroyed in the second book even more than
Yes.
now.
Please. Please.
It's that like moment in that chimney where Ines just like found this courage and found this purpose to finally stand up to everyone who ever wronged her. And then she was finally able to stand up to Healing. I loved that. And that's
Same.
also another thing that makes her and Gus so similar. Like they both had that moment where they were like, I need to take revenge on all the assholes that made my life
Yeah.
hell. And that's like
Yeah.
what their goal is. So basically, they're so similar in so many ways.
And
And
they both have like
that's
these assholes that manipulated them in that sense.
mhm,
Like she has the madam and he
mhm,
has Becca, and they're both awful. I can't decide which one is worse. So yeah, anyways, Nina got through the security. She flirted with the guard, of course she did. And she pretty much kind of noticed this high officer, and she kind of went to him to flirt with him. But actually, who she ran into was like the general. I don't know if he's a general or what he is,
mhm,
but he was pretty much Matthias's mentor, and he was the one that also captured her and had her on the ship. But
mhm.
everyone thought that he was dead. So that was incredible, and she decided to go along with him, and I thought that was very risky, honestly. And she also realized that too when they came to that building and they were all alone, and she was like, what the fuck am I doing, like I could have chosen someone else, why him, right? And when she got there and when Matthias was there, and it seemed like he betrayed her, right? Did you believe that he betrayed her?
Oh fuck no!
Same, yeah, me
Did
neither.
you?
No,
Yeah.
no, no, not for a second.
Cool. No, same. Oh my gosh. And I love that, by the way.
Same.
That whole part of the book, I was so stressed. I didn't really believe that General doesn't know who Nina is. I was like, this is shady. This is
Yes.
risky and this is scary and I don't want them to stay alone. And I was so scared for Nina. Oh my gosh. And when she
Same.
like walked into that cell, I was like, holy shit, no, don't do it. And then yeah, and then my TS showed up and I was like, I know that he's on her side and know that he's saving her. But still that moment when he was like, hello Nina, now we're even or something like that, and like stared at her with hate, I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that this is an act, and I was like, fuck yeah, double cross that general bitch. Let's go. It was so good. I love that. This is also a trope that I really love, when a character is pretending to hate someone, they love to like double cross. Like when that happens, it's just so good. I love it.
I agree. I was so impressed by that. And also just like by Matthias being so good at acting in a way and scheming and
Hmm.
stuff and tricking people, because it was so funny when him and Kaz were on their way to the court and Kaz said something about trickery. And then there was like this quote from Matthias where he said that he doesn't speak the language of trickery, but he might learn. Something like that. And even Kaz, he was impressed when he saw how Matthias was able to lie to the general, and he said that it seems that Matthias has some secret talent.
Yeah, like he's becoming part of the group.
Amazing, I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
He's totally
So
integrated at
great.
this point. Like his journey, actually, like Matthias's journey throughout this book, was really good, in my opinion, to where he
True.
was at the beginning and to where he got. And anyway, yeah, he rescues Nina. They go for the scientist, but in his place, they find the boy. And this boy is actually the scientist's son. His father died, he was killed, but the boy is still kept there because he still knows a lot about the drug. He still is really good at,
Hmm.
I guess, manufacturing it. So they pretty much take him and they burn everything, the laboratory, everything, and they run off. And yeah, of course, then Kaz has another brilliant plan of escape. He pretty much realizes that under their sacred tree, there's like water, and he burns that shit down. Amazing, I love it. And they just jump into it, and Kaz almost dies. The end.
Yeah, and before that, things a lot of thoughts about Inej, and I was dying. But yeah, I actually, once they started arriving at the laboratory, I was like, oh, I think there was a sentence before that the general said that Yulba, or what's his name, that he's feeling sad about his father dying. And I was like, oh, now I'm remembering something. So yeah, it took me that long to remember the fact that that's
Damn.
what happened. But yeah, I like that scene. I mean, first of all, I like that Matthias and Nina decide to not murder a 15-year-old. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I also like how Kuwait, like, he was on board. He was totally like, yeah, sure, I'll set everything on
He
fire.
was so
Let's go.
chill. He was
That
so
was so good.
chill. I love that kid. I love that kid. I just imagine him as like the super cute Asian kid because like that's how I imagine Shu, right? Asian. Okay, yeah. So then Kaz like is almost dead. I mean, Nina saves his life. While on the other hand, you also have Inej. She's captured by the guards. They know at this point that she's like a criminal because the madam gave her away. While Jasper and Wylan, they also have their own thing going on. I mean, at that point, Jasper had to kill the Grisha, which we explained already before, how he had this dilemma about it. And then after that, we kind of don't know where they went. But once Inej is in the corridor, they kind of run into each other and they help her out. And then they basically, I don't know, I was kind of confused by that whole scene. I didn't imagine it that well.
Yeah, yeah. I loved that the tank and all the weapons and shit that we focused so much when we walked into the prison made a comeback and were actually important. So nothing in this book gets mentioned without a purpose. There was a reason why we looked at that tank and noticed that tank. And that's great. That was a part of the plan that they imagined. But the first plan went to shit. Like Wyland and Jasper go and try to trigger that mechanism, that alarm, and block the door. So that's like what they managed, and that was so good. And by the way, I love how Jasper went from teasing Wyland to starting to flirt with him.
Yeah,
I'm really
yeah.
like also interested to see what happens with them in the second book because I don't remember shit about the second book, but
Honestly,
it's got to be good.
Honestly, I just wanted to say that I'm not into the Jasper and Wylan romance that much. I even wasn't into it in the show because I didn't feel the chemistry between them. And in the book, I imagine Wylan as this kid. I imagine him looking like really skinny and small and like pretty much a child, while I imagine Jasper a bit taller and more manly. So I just don't imagine them together. And also, I just really prefer them as like this a sibling dynamic, Jasper just making fun of him all the time and teaching him stuff and being protective over him. So now that we're gonna get like this romance between them, I'm not sure if I'm into that. But of course, once we get to the second book, I might completely change my mind. But at this point, I'm not that
Hmm.
into it.
I mean, in this book, that's like what we focused the least on among the
Yes,
romances.
yes,
So,
yes.
of course, like I want to see like what happens next. Like right now, yeah, we didn't really get much. I mean, I like them both as characters, so that will be interesting.
True, true.
And yeah, so basically, their plan was. that they got to the prison part because they were never like on the island that was separated by the bridge.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
they went there. Inej also went there because she was captured. So like they met up, and we got this description like a long time ago about this wall and how they also hypocritic pieces of shit,
That's what
Fierdans.
I wrote in my notes. Yes.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Talking about how unnatural Grisha were
And
and
then they
how
use their shit.
fucking demonic, yeah, the powers are, and how horrible it is to use those powers, except if when it's for our benefit and when we can use them as like tools and weapons. Basically, I was just like, fuck you all. Oh my gosh. And they deserve to get their fucking palace destroyed. That was
I mean,
great. Fuck
the
them.
first time they like saw everything, like the palace, how it looked, it was already like mentioned that it was probably
Hmm.
made by a fabricator, and that was the first time when I was like, "What the fuck, hypocrites!" And then it got mentioned more and more, and I was just getting more and more pissed. And then when we had the confrontation between the general and Matthias, and he was like, "Yeah, we're using them for us." And actually, after the trials, they are always sent here to be experimented on, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you're such hypocrites, such hypocrites. And I was so happy that Matthias saw that.
Totally. I mean, sure, Matthias was so naive. Like he was actually thinking that no, like our side are the good guys. We give Grisha a chance, and they're evil, and we totally believe they're evil. Like, no, no, your higher ups are using this belief for their own gain to just like use them as, and that's fucked up. And oh, I'm glad that he saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Okay, yeah. So then they manage to get into the tank, and then they're on their way, and they kind of run into Kaz and the other group on their way. And it was so good because
Mhm.
Kaz and the others, they were like so excited to see them, and Kaz was actually grinning. And I think Nina said to him, "Oh my gosh, Kaz, you're actually like smiling." And he was like, "No, I'm not." And but he still was. He snapped at her, but he was actually grinning from cheek to cheek. And yeah, but of course, the whole military was after them. They blew up the bridge. They thought they were safe. But no, once they got to shore, there was an entire army waiting for them there. I think in this entire battle, I mean, in this entire prison break, I feel like this was the most amazing moment ever because they had a Grisha, right? The army had a Grisha, and he was actually a heart render. So he was able to basically stop their hearts right there at that moment. So the only choice Nina had was actually to take the drug that thankfully Cuvée took with him a little bit, a sample. And yeah, she basically just snapped her fingers and everyone went to sleep. Like that's literally what happened. But sadly, then that asshole of a general came, and the Drusilla, they wore these suits that you couldn't really affect. But she actually started manipulating the soldiers, so the soldiers attacked them. It was so good.
Mhm.
And I mean, and that was it. Like she did that in a matter of freaking minutes. Amazing.
So badass. And also, I totally was not expecting her to, take that drug and to use it. But then at the same time, like, as it happened, I was like, why the fuck did I not expect it? Like, if we got it in this book and we know how powerful it makes Grisha, like, it actually like makes sense that
It makes
it came
sense.
up. Totally. I mean, fuck. I hope that Nina is okay. I hope that she gets through it because it's difficult to, even if you take it once, yeah, it really affects you. So, oh my gosh, I really, really hope that she manages it. I mean, of course she will, but I'm still like scared for her. But yeah, totally badass that she did that and kicked everyone's ass and that they managed to escape. Yeah, nice.
Yes. But of course, the story didn't end there. Of course, it wasn't going to be easy to get the money and live happily ever after. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect, what was going to go down. But yeah, basically, what they did was go meet up with Van Eyck, with Violent's father. And of course, he was like, "You're not getting the money. You're actually not even leaving this island. You're gonna die." All along, he wasn't even working with the council. It wasn't like a state thing. It was actually just his personal interest to use the drugs for like himself and creating an army. But they double crossed him because they brought the kid, right? So basically, Kaz gave them the kid. But the thing is that it wasn't actually Kuve, it was Wyland. Because before they left, before Nina lost her powers, she kind of changed his appearance. So Wyland actually now looks as Kuve. And yeah, he basically also realized at that moment how much his father actually hates him because Wyland can't write or read. I guess he has dyslexia, we could call it in our world. So yeah, poor Wyland, he knew all along that his father didn't care, but that he actually went along and blew up the ship and wanted to kill his own son. That's so sad. And anyway, it was again so sad because Jasper was the only one who didn't know about the plan. Everyone was so calm while Jasper was the one freaking out. Like Nina and Wyland, they literally just died, and you're all here super, super calm. And Matthias was like, chill, Jasper, chill. And I'm like, oh my gosh, even Matthias knows. But of course,
Yeah.
Cass had a reason. It turns out that Jasper unknowingly basically was the one who, told everyone about their trip. So that's how the news got out, and that's how Becca knew how to find them. And yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm kind of sad about that because, yeah, we basically ended with Kaz feeling like he can't trust Jasper again, can't trust Jasper anymore. And oh, I don't know. Like, of course, Jasper should have been more careful, but I still, like, I'm not really. I don't know. Maybe I should be more mad at him, but I'm just not. Like, if everyone can, like, fuck up, I guess, and make a mistake like that. But sure, like, it endangered them all. So I see that. And as soon as we went out of the ice guard and started getting back, I started getting suspicions because if everything went well, that it would be like, I don't know, like one chapter, like, yay, we got the money, let's go party. But we spent so long getting to that island and like explaining what needs to happen. I was like, shit is about to go down. Like, it's not going to go the way they were planning. I felt like Kaz in that moment. I felt betrayed. I felt, taken for a fool. I was totally not expecting Vanek to double cross them to this level. Like, I was not seeing that, and I feel so stupid. I feel like the same as Kaz, that I was just like pulled in and believing what he believed. And of course, he believed all those things because he was sort of blinded by like the revenge he wanted, and that made him like not focus on everything that was shady about the deal. And I was like, damn, like, of course, fuck, I'm so stupid. Especially when we know how much of an asshole he is to his own kid. Like, why did I not think that someone who treats his own son like that would probably not be the most fair negotiator? And oh, yeah, I feel totally stupid for not seeing that, of course. But yeah, of course, even though Kaz was not expecting everything, he still like had a backup, and he
Yeah.
still and it was so fun how while I actually bet with him on how much of an asshole his dad is, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you owe me money." That was good.
Poor baby. But yeah,
Oh,
it was funny.
mhm,
Yeah, but anyways, in that fight, Inej got basically kidnapped. So
mhm,
now they have to get her back. And as the final chapter, we find out what happened with Pekka Rollins in that prison. And we get Pekka's perspective, actually. So the gang, they visit him and they actually want money from him. But yeah, Pekka actually decides to help them because he sees potential in the kid and stuff, and he sees how dangerous he is. And it was so good because we find out that Kaz didn't actually hurt him. He actually left the doors open for him to escape because of course Cass has another type of revenge in mind. So I expected that. I was
mhm,
sure that he wasn't gonna actually kill him there. So that was amazing. And Pekka now helps him because he owes him a favor essentially. I mean, it's a life debt. He
mhm,
literally saved his life. So yeah.
mhm.
Crazy, crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
Fuck. Yeah, I love the ending of this book. I thought it was so great, and I love Cats. I mean, fucking, I said I love Cats 3 million times, but this was when he tried to think about, his brother, about revenge, and even that wasn't motivating him anymore. Just Inesh is all that's motivating him now. And I was like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, I love you. But still, even though we get this character development with him, like admitting his feelings and not having that much of a drive for revenge for his brother anymore, he never like stops being a pretty bad person. And I like that. I
Yeah.
like that we get development and complexity while not acting like, oh no, he's actually good. No, he's still driven by revenge, but now he's also driven by revenge for Inej and for getting Inej the life that she deserves in her dreams. Love it. And that Becca's perspective, oh, so great. Because he really does not recognize him. He doesn't know why this kid has that much of a problem with him.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it's sad, but also I can't wait to see Pekka get fucked over by
Same.
Cass.
I can't wait for him to find out who Kaz is. The moment of realization is gonna be amazing, I think.
When he's describing like the way Cass is looking at him and like how like yeah, like cold and like murderous his eyes are. And he's like,
Yeah.
well, damn, wonder what that's about. And I'm like, bitch,
Yeah.
you're going to
Uh,
find out. You're
it's
about to
actually
find out.
actually like Pekka's perspective in this sense was kind of funny to me because I'm like, you don't know what's
Hmm.
coming, bitch. And when they were in the cell and he said that he could see a glimpse of hate behind Haz's eyes, but then like as soon as it was there, it disappeared. And he was like, did I
Yeah.
imagine it? You know, he wasn't sure. And I love that so much. And even when they're in their office, Kaz literally says to him, you don't remember me, do you? And Pekka's like,
Yes.
should I? And he's like, you will or something. And I'm like, yes, you will, bitch.
Yeah. And Becca is still like, well, I wonder what that's about.
He's so unbothered. It's actually hilarious. He's so unbothered. He's so confident in himself. He's so confident that he can handle anyone, even if this kid tries to murder him. It's not gonna happen. Like he'll
Yeah.
outbest him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bitch, this kid literally broke into an unbreakable palace, and you're still
Yeah.
underestimating him. The fuck is your
Yeah.
problem?
You should be running away screaming, you idiot, right now. And oh, I cannot
Exactly.
wait to see what's coming for you.
Same,
I love
same.
it. Also, one thing I noticed now on this reread, I mean, one thing about me, I love when things that get mentioned at the beginning, like also appear at the end, those sort of like circular moments. So I loved it so much that like when Kaz got kidnapped by Vanek and whatever, and Vanek like talked about how this expensive ass painting got stolen from him and that
Yes.
he kind of like knows that that was Gas. And then that painting came back in like the last chapter that he was like, and I'm giving you this painting if you like help us. And he was like, yeah,
Yeah.
fine, okay. And oh,
Yeah.
such
That
like
was
a
so good.
full circle. Yeah. I loved it.
So
Oh
good.
my gosh. And when Pekka like noticed that like his like tie thing is missing and the wallet is missing and his fucking like shoelaces are missing,
The
everything
fuck? When
valuable that
did
he
he?
got on
How
himself.
could he get his? And he was like, Pekka was like, I'm surprised my teeth aren't missing because he has gold teeth, right? So he was like, the fuck. And that's the moment when Pekka was like, we should be afraid of this kid, I think.
You
At least a
should.
bit.
You
Yeah.
should.
Oh my gosh, so good. And I mean, we
Mhm.
finished the book and I'm glad we talked about it. This was a really nice discussion. I love
Mhm.
how we both love the book and we have literally nothing negative to say about it. It's amazing. And I can't wait to read the second one, Crooked Kingdom, for sure. And like I said, I can't
Same.
wait for Pekka to get what he deserves, the madam as well,
Mhm.
for Inej to get rescued, for the couples to get their happy endings. They're so cute. And yeah.
Same. And I also just want to mention that I really like the setting as well. That's another thing that I wasn't paying attention to or didn't notice as much when I was reading it, the first time. Like I didn't realize how inspired it is by the Netherlands the first time, and now actually I had a bit of experience living in the Netherlands, and now that I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, I get those street names. Oh, I get
Yes,
it. Like I
Catterdam.
get
Even Catterdam,
the
Amsterdam,
references.
it's like, the same shit in a way.
Totally. Like it made me nostalgic a little bit. So that's also another part I appreciated.
This book is inspired by a lot. I feel like
Hmm.
also Russia. I mean, you could say like, is it Russia as well, right?
I
I
mean,
mean,
Grisha.
some of the words are definitely Slavic-ish.
Well, the Grisha trilogy is totally inspired by Russia,
Yeah, a
by
lot
Russian
more.
mythology. That's not like a theory, that's just is what it is. I mean, personally, I only read the first book, right? But I feel like she could have done a better job. That's also one thing that turned me off a little bit from the Grisha trilogy. I feel like there's so much you can do with this mythology and that setting and that culture, but it wasn't like as well researched and as well developed as I would
Hmm,
have
hmm, hmm.
hoped. And that like left me a bit disappointed. But of course, that's the first book by this author, if I'm remembering it correctly, and we can see how much she improved in the Six of Crows.
Yeah. Okay, that's it for today, guys. Next week on Monday,
Mhm,
we're coming back with Crooked Kingdom. So excited about that. Follow us on Instagram, on social media. We are More Than Fiction Pod. We have news there. If you want to learn in advance what we're going to read next and stuff, go there. We have also
mhm.
fun content that we post. So yeah, rate us 5 stars, please, immediately, right now. And that's it for today.
Yes, thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon. Yay!
Bye.